Welcome to Small Stories, Big Healing, where old teachings speak softly into modern lives.
When you cannot understand why someone is acting the way they are, when their words feel sharp, their silence feels cold, and you begin to think, what is wrong with them? Have you ever wished you could step into another person's heart just for a moment so you could see what they are carrying? Once upon a time, in a coastal town where the air tasted of salt and the mornings arrived softly, there lived a young man named Jalen. Jalen worked at the harbor, mending nets and carrying crates of fish from boats to market stalls. He was dependable and strong, and people often said, "If you need help, ask Jalen." But there was one person Jalen could not understand. Her name was Helen. Helen owned a small tea shop near the pier, just a simple place with worn wooden tables and a bell above the door that chimed like a tiny wave. She served warm cups of ginger tea and sweet buns wrapped in paper. Yet Helen was not known for kindness. She spoke quickly. She frowned more than she smiled. And if someone spilled tea or asked too many questions, she would snap, "Be careful," or "Do you not see?" or "Please leave if you cannot decide." Many in town avoided her shop. And Jalen, though he tried to be patient, felt his own heart hardening whenever he passed her door. One morning, as the harbor bustled with fishermen and gulls, Jalen carried a crate toward the market and heard Helen's voice. "Move your cart," she shouted at a delivery boy. "You're blocking the entrance." The boy's face fell. He tugged the cart away, embarrassed. Jalen felt heat rise in his chest. He marched toward Helen's shop and pushed open the door so hard the bell rang wildly. Helen looked up. Her eyes were tired, like someone who had not rested properly in a long time. Jalen said, "Why do you speak to people that way?" Helen's face tightened. "I am busy," she replied. "If you came to scold me, then go." Jalen leaned forward. "No," he said, "you don't get to treat people like they are nothing." For a moment, Helen stared at him as if she might throw him out herself, but instead she looked away. Her voice grew quiet, almost too quiet to hear. "You do not know what you are talking about." Then she turned her back and began wiping the counter, wiping and wiping, even though it was already clean. Jalen stood there, breathing hard. He wanted to say more. He wanted to win. But something in Helen's shoulders, something heavy and hidden, made his anger stumble. Still, he left. Outside, the sea wind cooled his face, but not his thoughts. That afternoon, Jalen visited Elder Inez, an old woman who lived in a small cottage on the hill. People said she had lived long enough to understand what most people rushed past. Her garden was simple: stones, wind chimes, and a shallow basin where rainwater collected like a calm mirror. Jalen found her sitting beside that basin, watching the surface. He said, "Elder Inez, there is a woman in town who was always harsh. I tried to confront her, but she acted like I was the problem. Why are some people like that?" Elder Inez did not answer right away. Instead, she lifted a wooden ladle and poured a little water into the basin. Ripples spread outward in soft circles. Then she asked, "Jalen, when the sea is calm, what happens when you throw a stone?" "It ripples," he said. "And when the sea is already storming?" "The ripples disappear," Jalen replied. "The storm swallows them." Elder Inez nodded. "Some hearts are like calm seas," she said. "A small kindness makes ripples that travel far. But some hearts are already storming. And when you throw your stone, your anger, your judgment, it does not teach, it only adds to the storm. Jalen frowned. But does that excuse her behavior? Elder Inez's eyes were gentle but steady. Empathy does not excuse, she said. Empathy explains. She reached beside her and held up 2 small cups, one clay, one glass. She poured tea into the glass cup first. It was clear and golden. Then she poured tea into the clay cup, but before she did, she tilted it so Jalen could see inside. The clay cup was cracked within, stained with old bitterness. She said, "Both cups can hold tea, but one tastes of what it has been holding for years." Jalen swallowed. Elder Inez continued, "If you want to understand someone, do not only listen to what they say, ask yourself, what have they been holding?" Jalen looked down at the water basin again. Its surface had become still. He asked quietly, "So what should I do?" Elder Inez pointed to the basin. "Go," she said, "and do not try to fix her. Do not try to defeat her. Simply see her. That is where empathy begins." That evening, the harbor grew quiet. Boats rested like sleeping animals on the water. The sky turned the color of warm ash. Jalen found himself walking slowly toward Helen's tea shop. The bell chimed when he entered. The shop was nearly empty. Helen stood behind the counter, counting coins. The light from a small lantern made soft shadows under her eyes. She glanced up and sighed. "If you came back to argue," she said, "I don't have the energy." Jalen took a breath. "I didn't come to argue," he said. Helen's hands paused. Jalen looked around at the shop, how clean it was, how carefully the cups were arranged, how the air smelled of ginger and something faintly sweet. He said, "I came to ask something different." Helen's eyes narrowed. "What?" Jalen spoke gently. "Are you okay?" For a long moment, Helen said nothing. The lantern flame flickered. Then Helen let out a small laugh that did not sound like laughter at all. "Okay?" she repeated. "That is a strange question." Jalen did not rush. He simply stood there and waited, like someone waiting for a tide to change. Helen's shoulders trembled slightly, almost imperceptibly. And then, with a voice that cracked like thin ice, she said, "No." The single word fell into the room and made it feel suddenly very quiet. Jalen swallowed. Helen turned her face away, but her eyes glistened. She said, "My father used to run this shop. He was kind. Everyone loved him." Her fingers tightened around a coin. "Last year," she continued, "he became sick, very sick. I stayed up nights making tea he couldn't drink. I listened to him struggle for breath. I watched him fade and I couldn't stop it." Her voice sharpened, not toward Jalen, but toward the memory. "And after he died," she said, "everyone came. They cried, they said beautiful things." She looked at Jalen now, her eyes bright with pain. "And then they went back to their lives." Helen breathed in shakily. "But I stayed here, in this shop, with this silence." She gestured around her, as if the walls were speaking to her. "And every morning," she whispered, "I open the door and pretend I am fine." Jalen felt his chest tighten. All the times he had thought, "She is rude," all the times he had thought, "She is heartless," they shifted like a heavy rope loosening. Helen wiped her eyes quickly, angry at herself for showing anything. "You see," she said, "this is why I don't want people close, because if I let them in, I will fall apart, so I push them away first." Jalen stood very still. Elder Inez's words echoed inside him. Empathy does not excuse. Empathy explains. Jalen spoke quietly. "I am sorry," he said. "I didn't know." Helen's jaw tightened. "Nobody knows." Jalen nodded. Then he said, "Would it help if someone sat with you for a while?" Helen stared at him as if she didn't understand the idea. Jalen continued, "Not to fix anything, not to make you talk, just to sit and let you breathe." Helen's eyes softened for the first time. She hesitated, as if deciding whether to trust a bridge that might collapse. Then, slowly, she set down the coin. She pulled out a cup and poured tea, hands trembling slightly. She placed it in front of Jalen and in front of herself. They sat. No grand speeches, no dramatic apologies, just two human beings in a small shop, letting the quiet be kinder than it had been. Outside, the sea moved the way it always does, patient, steady, shaping stone without force. After a long while, Helen spoke again. "I used to think kindness was something you gave when life was easy," she said. Jalen looked at her. "And now?" he asked. Helen stared into her cup. "Now, I think kindness is what you hold out when someone is drowning," she said. And in that small moment, Jalen understood something simple and life-changing. Empathy is not agreeing. Empathy is not excusing. Empathy is the quiet courage to look past behavior and see the burden beneath it. Because so often, the people who feel the hardest to love are the ones who have been hurting the longest. So when you meet someone sharp, someone distant, someone difficult, pause just for a breath and ask yourself, what storm might they be living through? And then, if you can, offer one small ripple of gentleness. Now, here is the lesson I wanted to leave with you today. The moral is this: empathy is seeing the hidden weight in another person's heart and responding with kindness instead of judgment. You do not have to carry someone else's pain. You do not have to accept mistreatment, but you can choose to meet the world with a softer gaze because you never truly know what someone has been holding. If you learned something today, or if Jalen and Helen's journey brought you even a small sense of calm, I invite you to stay connected with us. This is Small Stories, Big Healing, short tales to soothe your heart and guide your steps. If this story should reach more people who are struggling with understanding others, please don't forget to like this video, share it with someone who might need this reminder, and comment below. What does empathy mean to you? Your one comment may encourage someone else who feels unseen tonight. And if you'd like more stories that bring gentle comfort and insight, please subscribe and ring the notification bell so you don't miss the next healing tale. Until then, let your heart be like water, gentle enough to receive. Small Stories, Big Healing will be here with another tale whenever your heart needs a gentle reminder.